please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Marlowe. My name is Joel Odou. How are you today?
Good, Joel. Thank you.
Nice to see you. Can you tell the jury, did you participate in the setup of real water when the decision was made to set up a plant and start making real water? Did you participate in that process?
Yeah, I helped him, yes.
Can you tell the jury how the process went, how it was set up to make real water once the decision was made we're going to manufacture it?
Basically, as I just testified, we set up those units, and I showed them how concentrations of the various chemicals and voltages and the setup, yes.
And was there testing done? You talked about something about bacterial and health department, and I don't know if you finished your answer. What was that about?
I didn't do any of that, but yes, they did, for the sake of the health district and I think NSF or whatever it's called. Is that right?
To your knowledge,
Anyway, they had certifications for the product, yes.
okay. To your knowledge, do you remember what those were? The certifications?
Well, the ones I recall are the, what is it, National Sanitation Foundation?
Yeah.
NSF, and the Clark County Health District had requirements that they had to report monthly on the quality of the water.
And NSF, that was an auditing company?
I don't know, I wasn't involved with that at all. I just remember they had that and we're proud of it, or we're happy to have it, yeah.
Ms. Marlowe, thank you again for being here, so we really appreciate it.
Yes.
Will you direct counsel for Blain?
Yes, Your Honor, just two questions.
Sure, go ahead, please.
While we get out of here. The bacteria test counsel just talked about, that's different than a wide-ranging test to see what's in the product.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Will you cross counsel?
No, Mr. Marlowe may be excused for all purposes. Again, thank you for coming, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Bridge out signature questions to this witness excluded for all purposes. Feel free to please watch your step.
Thank you.
Just on the way down. Thank you very much. Thank you. While this witness is exiting, counsel for plaintiff is the prior witness, Dr. Hutt, coming back onto the stand.
Yes, Your Honor.
Marshall, can you ask? Thank you so much.
Yes.
Feel free to set up if you have to. As we've done with everybody else, let me remind you that everything's going to be correct.
Yes.
Thank you. If you have a seat, counsel continue with your presentation.
Dr. Odd, we were talking about customer complaints when you left, do you recall that?
Yes.
And let me show you a customer complaint and ask if you've seen this before. Jane, go with 56, please.
Yes.
And you have seen this before?
Yes.
And this talks about a strong chemical smell in the bottle. See that?
Yes.
And if the manufacturer gets a complaint about a product and has a strong chemical smell in it, what should that manufacturer do?
Well, they should investigate, but in this case, the strong chemical smell would be particularly big red flagged in my mind, because you want to find out what is causing a chemical smell in the product that should have no chemical smell.
Okay. And can I see 57A, please, Shane? Here's another one from May 21st, 2014. Did you look at this one too?
Yes.
And it says, customer said she found a gasoline-like substance in a blue liter purchased at Chevron on St. Rose, Maryland. Did you see that?
Yes.
Should a bottle manufacturer investigate that?
Yes, this is a particular and alarming finding from a customer. Gasoline-like smell should not be in bottled water.
Okay. Would this kind of finding for a bottled water manufacturer, chemical smell, gasoline-like smell, in your view, would it trigger any other sort of thing that should be done under HACCP? What was your?
Well-
Speculation.
Overruled by the question. What is this judgment?
Well, this particular complaint really did catch my attention for the reasons that we discussed earlier this morning, because this complaint identifies that the bottle was made on the same shift as the previous report, meaning the previous customer report made a few days prior. Now, that's a huge red flag, because now I have two complaints about the same lot, or the same shift, definitely the same lot, and that is a signal that something is very wrong. It was also similar, gasoline, white smell, a strong chemical smell. Those are all indicative of a true problem, and at that time, in my personal experience, we break down doors to find out what is going on with this particular manufacturing lot. There's definitely a problem, and that would be the response for any quality professional in any food industry or manufacturing and service situation.
Just breaking down doors, reviewing the production line.
Oh, yes, specifically, we go back to, number one, the retained sample, and do a serious investigation using analytical chemistry to analyze what is in this particular lot of water. You use gas chromatography, mass spectroscopy, HPLC, high pressure chromatograph, HPLC. You use all kinds of analytical tools in order to evaluate what is in that water. We go to the sample that you have on hand from that shift, from that lot, and do serious investigation. You'd also look at the production records from that day. Problem with Real Water is they didn't have production records. I don't know that they had retains either. I've never seen
Speculation.
that they had retains.
Hold on, you're going to object. What's the speculation for the part of the statement that says?
Don't speculate on Judge. If you don't know if they have something, just let that go.
So
Go ahead.
jury would disregard portion of the, basically, the last sentence of saying she was guessing it didn't. Go ahead, please.
So they would look at the production records, which I have seen no evidence that there are production records. So without production records, I don't know what they would look at. But the issue would be that they should just pour over all the data they have about that particular lot of production, the day of the production, incoming materials. Again, they didn't have a HACCP plan, so they couldn't go back to their ingredients and look at their hazards. But if they did have a HACCP plan, it would drive them to go back to their HACCP plan as required per the HACCP methodology and reevaluate the hazard analysis. Did they do it correctly? Were they overlooking this particular risk? And to change their food safety plan based on this customer complaint or a similar customer complaint.
Okay, and let's get back to the HACCP plan. We talked about the NSF audit, right? Yes.
Yes,
And was Real Water given a copy of that NSF audit?
I believe that they would have had a copy.
And the standard procedure, the NSF audit is for the quality assurance director or someone to sign off on it.
Yes, yes. They indicated who was present. Blain Jones was present for the majority of those audits, as I recall, but they would indicate the contact within the facility, and that individual would actually go with the auditor, should go with the auditor during the audit, because you're there to answer questions for the auditor, to provide documentation that they request. That would be standard operating procedure in the case of an audit. So Real Water would be actively engaged while that audit is ongoing.
And so the auditor at some point tells them what their score is, what the results are.
Yes, they would share with them the deficiencies that they saw, which would be in writing, and they would also share with them the score.
Okay, and referring to the December 6, 2018 NSF audit, did you review that?
Yes, I did.
And did that find deficiencies?
That found multiple deficiencies, yes.
Okay, such as?
Well, it first scored the HACCP compliance at 6.7% out of 100. So there were multiple deficiencies in their HACCP plan, according to the auditor, who documented what all those deficiencies were. First of all, they had no hazard analysis. They did not have an accurate flow diagram to base the HACCP plan, the food safety plan on. There were pieces missing, specifically the concentrate room was missing from the flow diagram. None of it had been updated. There was no HACCP training. No one was qualified to execute a HACCP plan. The auditor wrote in her audit findings a most unprecedented remark I've never seen in an audit, and that is that there is no one qualified to competently make safe and clean water in this facility. No one qualified to make safe and clean
Judge,
water.
Your Honor, we're getting to a narrative here.
All right, move to exhibit 84, so
Well,
much.
one second, let me address the objection.
I'm glad to stop you and ask you another question.
Counsel, is that addressed?
That resolved it, Your Honor, thank you.
So the court, you got roll, go ahead, counsel.
Your Honor, I move to amend exhibit 84, which is the December 6, 2018 NSF audit.
No objection.
Any objection? 84 is admitted, thank you so much.
So this is the actual checklist that we've been calling an audit, right, Doctor?
Yes,
And so, stay there, let's get some basics here. So it was required by Costco, that's upright, right?
that's correct.
And the date of the audit is what?
December 6th, 2018.
And it has a start time of 8:55 and an end time of 6:30. So
That's correct.
is that typical for an NSF audit? It's a day-long process?
It would be typical for a day long. I would describe this as a lengthy audit for an NSF bottled water audit. Going until 6:30 p.m. at night is not typical.
Okay. And the score there, the overall score is what?
82.4%.
Is that good or is that bad?
That's bad.
And then I think you referenced the HACCP score earlier as being 6.7%. Do you see that on there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, does this document go page after page through different areas and describes problems at Real Water?
It does. It describes 34 corrective action requirements.
Okay, what does
34
that mean?
deficiencies. I'm sorry.
What does that mean?
That means that she highlighted 34 deficiencies for which corrective action would be required.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at a couple sections real quick. Section 2, number 1, is that observation.
Yes,
And it says, an annual self-inspection audit for GMP was not available. And what does that mean?
as part of the food safety plan, you're required to do an internal audit of yourself, check your compliance with your own food safety plan at least once a year, and that was not done in this case.
Let's go to section 2, part 2. Something about document specifications. What does that mean?
This is particularly troublesome to me as a quality professional because,
Objection beyond the scope.
Counsel,
Can you
get
just,
down, please. I'm sorry.
I'm only rephrasing.
Okay, since we moved on and rephrased, go ahead. General will disregard the beginning of the answer before the objection. Thank you, Judge.
I'll ask you in a second how you feel about it, but what does it mean?
it means that there is no specification for each product that Real Water made. The specification is a description of the product that is being made. It can be a formula, it can be a process, but it is what we call in the industry a Bible for the product.
Let's go to section 3, number 1. Okay. Section 3. Okay. This is the HACCP section, correct?
Yes, sir,
So HACCP has its own little section.
that is correct.
Okay. And section 1 talks about a finding that the HACCP team list is not current. Why is that a problem?
As I indicated yesterday when we talked about HACCP, the first thing you do is design your HACCP team. This is the group of individuals who have knowledge about the product and the process and how to safely make the product. And so the fact that they did not have a HACCP team list that was current is a deficiency and problematic.
Can you recall whether or not this is a repeat violation?
I do recall seeing lack of a HACCP team in previous NSF audits, yes,
Of real water.
of real water, correct, yes.
All right, let's go to section 3, number 4. And so just the jury understands, in section, item number 1, you could have got 20 points and they got 0 points. In item 2, you could have got 10 points and they got 0 points. That's how this works?
That's correct.
Okay. Next, please. Section 3, number 4. That talks about a description of product. Why is it, what does that mean?
It means that they do not have a list of ingredients for each of the products that they're making. Again, the ingredients are the source of the hazard analysis. So if they don't have a list of ingredients, they can't do a hazard analysis as required for a HACCP plan. They did not have that according to this audit.
Okay, so that you got a 0 there too.
Yes, they did.
Okay, number 5. That talks about a process flow chart. First of all, what does that mean?
Again, this is the flow diagram that we talk about as one of the fundamentals of formulating your food safety plan, your HACCP plan. And it shows each input along the process, each piece of equipment, and what happens at that piece of equipment. It is very important for designing the HACCP plan because you need to know what, from point A to point Z, what is coming into the process and how is it being manipulated, where does it go, and what happens to it then. So inputs and outputs are described in the process flow. And in this case, it was not up to date and did not reflect all the elements of Real Water's actual manufacturing process.
So we got another 0 out of 20.
Yes.
Okay, and number, I think we're up to 7. Let's go to 7. Okay. This is asking for a hazard analysis of physical hazards, et cetera. What does this mean in general?
This is, again, the most fundamental part of the HACCP and food safety plan, the hazard analysis. And in this case, the auditor is observing that the hazard analysis study was not current and that steps were missing.
Okay. And again, we got a 0 here.
Yes.
Okay, and then 9 through 8. We have not applicable on 8 through 11. Why is that? What does it mean when they say no CCP again?
As I mentioned, part of the HACCP plan is identification of a critical control point, a point at which a hazard can be either prevented, eliminated, or reduced to a reasonable risk. In this case, Real Water designated no point in their process as a critical control point. Therefore, there's no requirement for them to monitor at that critical control point because they chose no critical control point. Whether or not that's correct is the issue here, but the fact is they did not identify a critical control point, so those points were not applicable.
Have you ever seen any food or beverage manufacturer that has absolutely no critical control point anymore?
Culture speculation beyond the scope.
It's yours, Mr.
In my experience, I always see a
Hold on a
HACCP.
second. It's in light of the modifications, the objection still pending.
Sorry, I didn't.
In light of the modifications, counsel, after you raised your objection.
Thank you.
Are you still asking the court to make a ruling?
Your Honor, it's still beyond the scope.
So staying based on so far what was testified at that next week.
You looked at HACCP reports before, including beverage manufacturers,
Yes,
in audit reports that had HACCP sections.
yes,
And how many hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands?
hundreds and hundreds.
And
Beyond the scope of the report, Your Honor.
That was a question.
I need to get a question. What?
Let me get on, I'm just trying to finish. Okay,
Wait, at this juncture, since there's no question pending, the court can find the whether necessary.
We agree, Your Honor.
okay. So let's move on to the next one that you're writing. That's number 12. You see that, Darby?
Yes,
Okay. And that talks about the HACCP plan being verified initially. What does this mean in general?
again, as we went through yesterday, the last step of the HACCP plan, the 7 steps, is verification. So there is a requirement that they annually, at least annually, verify that the HACCP plan is effective that it's in place and working as designed. It's also required that if any modifications in the process or equipment or ingredients are made, the HACCP plan must be reevaluated at that point. So this is stating that the verification step has not been done since February 2017, which is more than annual, more than 12-month period.
And then finally, the total scoring is 10 out of 150, which is 6.7%. Do you see that?
Yes,
Is that considered a bad, fair, good, excellent score? What is that considered?
that is a complete breakdown and complete failure.
Now, you said that there was a reference in here, Shane, can I have section 4, please? In the highlight section under 5 there, that says, quote, "There was no qualified individual to provide a level of competency necessary for production of a clean and safe product. Note that the QA director has resigned." You see that statement?
Yes,
Is that the one you referenced earlier?
it is.
And what was your terminology for that?
That I've never seen anything like that in an audit report in my total experience. It is unprecedented to write such a thing that truly is incriminating in the sense of what she saw.
Okay. Why is it important for a bottling manufacturing plant to have someone that knows how to make a clean and safe product?
Because people drink their product and it can make them sick.
Thank you, Doctor. I'm with the question.
Cross-examination, counsel?
Thank you. Good afternoon. How are you?
Very well, sir. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Dr. Ed, I want to start with sort of your background and then some of the documents that you looked at. You had told the jury that you had worked for the McDonald's Corporation, is that right?
That's correct.
That's a billion-dollar corporation at the time you worked for it?
I can't remember its status, but it was certainly, I don't recall.
I cheated. I did a Google search. Apparently McDonald's is like over 200 billion today. Don't do a Google search.
It could be, and I know there's differentiation between the franchisee and the corporate office. Corporate offices is declared less than the total value of the corporation because it excludes the franchisee value.
Yeah, I don't want to get any tax stuff and don't understand it anyway, so I appreciate that. It's fair to say that McDonald's is a big company.
I think that's exactly correct.
Okay, and when I was a kid, they used to have to sign up for over 40 million served or something that told you all about them. I don't know how many million served, if about a billion or whatever they have now, but it's fair to say that McDonald's has a lot of restaurants,
It does, around the world.
a lot of employees,
It does.
and McDonald's has had its share of recalls over the years, has it not?
I don't know that I classify any of their issues as recalls. They have had product withdrawals from suppliers from time to time. Those are not recalls because the incoming stream of materials from McDonald's is not public.
Understood. And certainly, they've had their share of problems over the years, things like having beef tallow and french fries, right?
That is not a food safety risk and not a regulatory violation, no.
It's not a food safety risk if your diet is, that if you have religious concerns about eating beef, that's not a problem for McDonald's?
They declared very clearly in the list of ingredients whether they were halal or not. That was publicly available information.
What about the restaurants in India, though? Right? The concern was serving french fries made with beef tallow, wasn't it?
I don't recall the situation in India when I was there. I know that we had restaurants in India, and I know that we were very sensitive to their halal status.
And religious concerns are very important, aren't they?
Yes,
Another company you work for, Coors, a very large company.
Yes, it grew larger when it merged with all the other companies it's merged with, but when I worked for them, it was just core growing.
I've been to Colorado, excellent tour, really enjoyed it. Billions though, right? Billions of dollars in revenue, of course.
Again, I don't recall the number of dollars in revenue.
They make a lot of beer,
They make a lot of beer,
fair enough. Heinz, again, very large company,
a large company, yes.
billions again in revenue.
Again, I don't recall the revenue.
Yum Brands, that includes, I guess, Pizza Hut, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Taco Bell, revenue in the billions.
I don't recall the revenue, but those are three of the concepts. Sometimes they also, during my tenure there, they had A&W root beer, and a pizza company, I can't recall.
We have an A&W in Las Vegas, it's actually on top of the Boulder City. So fair to say that Yum Brands, again, it's a very large company.
Yes,
And all of these are very large companies, is that fair? And
yes.
these companies have revenues in the billions, is that fair?
Again, I don't recall the revenue values.
And comparatively speaking, Real Water is a pretty small company compared to these, would you agree with me?
Well, I don't recall that I ever saw a revenue figure for Real Water. I can't speak to its
Were you here,
sales.
you weren't here for the testimony of the gentleman from Terribles?
Was that Mr. Walters?
Yeah.
I was here.
Were you here when he talked about that Real Water was less than a fifth of Dasani as an example? Or Dasani outsold Real Water 5-1?
He was talking about sales, but not dollar sales. I don't know that he mentioned
That's
profit margin.
And that's fair. I'm just trying to draw a distinction between very large companies, such as the ones that you've worked for, and comparatively speaking, Real Water is a smaller company. So far, you would agree with me?
Yes, it's a smaller company than the ones I've worked for, yes.
And let's talk about some of the things that you did as part of your investigation, as part of this case. My understanding is you were hired by the plaintiff's attorneys, as far as I did, right?
That's correct.
And as everyone does, you charge for your work, correct?
I do.
And how much are you paid for your time, energy, and effort spent testifying at trial? What is your hourly rate?
My hourly rate, and forgive me, I don't recall if I've been retained by Real Water through a third party. My rate is a little bit different. I charge $800 an hour for deposition testimony, analysis, any of my work.
Fair enough. And as part of your work, obviously, you want to be very careful. You want to look at everything and review all of the documents before you run your opinion. Is that fair?
That is correct.
And as part of that investigation, you provided a report that's about 36 pages long.
As I recall, yes,
And it has a number of items that you reviewed. Is that correct?
it does.
One of the items you reviewed was quality control point finished product testing 11/3/20 to 3/16/21, Casey Aiken logs, and those had a Real Water base stamp. So those were documents that you received, you reviewed as part of your analysis. Is that fair?
I would have reviewed them. I don't recall them specifically.
Okay. And it's, I've got your documents in front of me, so I'm just going to read from them. And I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. Another document you reviewed was, again, produced by Real Water. It's a HACCP summary dated February 18, 2019. It's a document you reviewed, correct?
I don't recall it specifically.
Do you recall Real Water had a HACCP summary document, don't you?
I recall it generally. It was not very thorough, as I recall.
You recall that Real Water had a HACCP critical points 2019 document, don't you?
I don't recall it specifically. As I just mentioned, in 2018, they had no CCPs listed on their asset plan.
Okay, but there was one in 2019 that you reviewed, isn't that true?
I don't recall the document specifically.
Would you like me to approach and I can show it to you? I've got your report highlighted.
I recall my report. I don't recall the document you're referring to specifically.
Okay, Your Honor, may I approach?
Sure, the plaintiff's counsel first.
I just want to refresh our recollection.
Yes, you may approach. Go ahead.
I'm just read.
Oh, yes, I understand.
Dr. Hart, this is not a trick question. I just want to ask you, things that you looked at, and I know you don't have them in front of you. I have them in front of me. I'm not trying to trick you at all in that way. I just want to go through some of the things that you listed. Another thing that you listed was HACCP Plan Quality Policy dated November 17, 2014. Correct.
I recall it as part of the documents I looked at, I don't recall it specifically.
Okay. Now, one of the things that you were talking about with Mr. Kemp was an NSF audit from 2018.
Yes, I recall.
And following an NSF audit in 2018, there was a re-audit in 2019. Isn't that true?
There it was.
And in fact, as part of the auditing process, isn't it pretty typical that if there's an audit that's failed, then there's another inspection to see if they've now corrected those deficiencies?
It is actually required to have a re-audit.
So isn't it true that all those deficiencies that you saw with the 2018 audit were corrected by February 21st, 2019?
The audit report, as I recall, in February 2019, did score 100% on HACCP. It included training, HACCP training required by Mr. Jones, and it was a different auditor completely from the auditor who did it in 2018.
And in fact, Mr. Jones, this was Blain Jones, the owner's son, correct?
That's correct.
And Blain Jones went through the programs put forth by NSF to become HACCP certified, didn't he?
I understand he did, according to the audit report.
No, Will Water moves to admit Exhibit 86.
Council Kemp?
The February 21st, 2019 re-audit.
With no objections submitted.
Mr. Zamora, could you just put the cover page up? Okay, so they failed the audit in late 2018. As you said, it's a requirement in 2019 to be re-audited. Fair?
Correct.
And when they failed the audit in 2018, one of the things they failed was they didn't have a trained HACCP person because that person had quit the day before the audit. Were you aware of that?
No, I don't believe that that was the case, or if it was, they've gone for many times without a person designated for quality. And as I mentioned before, the person who was designated wasn't trained.
Okay. And so people can really come and go, they can quit their jobs, can't they?
They can, but they would, if they were putting,
You've answered my question, I understand. And that's the only point I'm making, I'm not arguing with you. Dr. Hutt, the corporation, what you just said was that it's a requirement to have that person. You understood that person quit, so far so good?
understood,
And then Blain Jones went through the training, became HACCP certified, correct?
yes,
And then there was a re-audit, correct?
yes.
The audits, they're not scheduled, are they?
I believe that the NSF bottled water audits are scheduled.
They're not surprise audits?
No, I don't believe this audit would be a surprise audit.
The re-audit is not a surprise audit. The original audit, though, is that a surprise audit?
They're usually scheduled, unless there's a reason why they're not scheduled, but because they require so much of staff's time, it is a courtesy to schedule them.
And when they schedule, what do you mean? They call up and say, hey, we're going to come to your facility next month?
No, they usually set a date so that we can make sure that the quality assurance person is present, and the other people who are needed for the audit will be present.
Okay. And the re-audit score, you said Real Water got 100% in February of 2019?
Yes, my recollection is that they did, that individual had been trained, and the other deficiencies that were found in 2018, which were complete and multiple, had apparently been corrected according to this particular auditor.
Okay. Could we, Mr. Smart, go to Exhibit 56? So one of the complaints that Mr. Kemp showed you was Exhibit 56. One of the, we went through it pretty quickly, so I'm going to put it up. I'm sorry, I have to switch between glasses to see you or see the complaint. So looking at Exhibit 56, you see where it says there, we went and purchased several other bottles from the gas stations in that area with the same MFG, all of which tested around 19 TDS and smelled fine. So Real Water sent somebody to go to the gas station and test the water with the total dissolved solids and came up with 19. You see that?
Yes.
And it says it's inconclusive if the customer complaint was legitimate or not. This issue is considered closed. You see that?
I do.
And your disagreement is you don't, maybe, I don't know if the word's in but you disagree with how they investigated this complaint. Is that fair?
Yes, I believe I was putting in context of the second report, second complaint that was a few days later, with the same manufacturing.
And I appreciate it. We'll look at the second one. We'll look at one at a time. I don't know why it's from 56 and 57. It was random. But I just want to focus in on the scope of, now I got to switch glasses so I can see you again. There we go. Sorry about that. I just want to focus in on your disagreement is that they didn't do it the way you believe it ought to be done. Is that fair?
In the context of the second complaint, they should have done a lot more than they did.
Okay, I understand now. Let's go to Exhibit 57. And if we can pull up and focus in again on what they did. Again, same thing. Looks like Nick, and I can't make out his name, maybe it's in the top, can't quite make it out. Went to the Chevron, bought some bottles. They tested it for pH or total dissolved solids and found no problems. They also asked if there was complaints, I think, in this one. Let me go back before, sorry. And again, your disagreement is you don't like the way Real Water investigated this complaint. Is that fair?
I think in the context of the first complaint, the second complaint involving the same manufacturing lot, their investigation was not thorough. Correct.
So that's fair. You don't like the way they did it.
I think it was incomplete.
Okay, fair enough. Now, Ms. Hutt, are you aware that Real Water has admitted responsibility for causing injuries to the plaintiffs in this case?
I'm vaguely aware of that. I'm a scientist. I'm not dealing with the legal matters in this case.
And I appreciate that. I just wanted to know if you're aware that that Real Water has admitted that they caused these plaintiffs injuries. You're aware of that, at least now you are, right?
I am now, yes.
Ms. Hutt, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for your time. That's all the questions I have. I'm sorry that I'm not able to see you when I switch glasses so I can read it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Redirect.
No, Your Honor.
There's no redirect, okay. This witness is for all purposes, or subject to recall, subject to recall, what part of the case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Move it excused for all purposes, Your Honor. Thank you for all purposes.
Appreciate it. This is used for all purposes. We do not see any further questions. Thank you very much. Please watch your step on the way down. Thank you very much.
May I confer with Mr. Kemp? I think we have an agreement on the next
Sure.
video.
Do you all still need a few moments? Questions? Can we pause?
One second, Your Honor.
No worries.
This is an agreed upon witness.
Let's pause for a second. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand up and get some water.
Your Honor,
Can we approach?
Where's your name? Just a lovely white noise. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what we're going to do, just so you have an understanding, is counsel for plaintiff, would you like to call your next witness?
Your Honor, we would call Patty Converse.
Thank you. So Ms. Converse is going to be appearing by video deposition to recorded, okay? So certain excerpts based on court rulings, et cetera. So you're going to see excerpts. The way this particular deposition was done, and sometimes you see in some other ones, is you might have what's called a split screen, where you see the witness on one side of the screen, and you might see a potential exhibit on the other, based on certain court rulings and other things, or certain redactions and certain things that are blocked out. You just need to disregard, okay? the fact that things are blocked out. That makes sense to everybody? And you're only listening to what she's saying and things that are visible for you to actually see, okay? And disregard the fact that things are blocked out and what's blocked out, which hopefully you won't be able to see, okay? Thank you so very much. It's gonna take just a moment because they're wonderfully trying to get this teed up so that we get this taken care of for you.
We're ready, Your Honor.
Now, give me time, be quick. Okay, so then council's already called the witness, so at this juncture, you feel free to put it on the screen. Thank you so much. Join.
You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, all right. Would you state your name, please?
Tricia Converse?
Is that your full name?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell me the extent of your educational background
Oh, through high school?
here in Nevada?
No, Colorado.
Okay, so you graduated high school in Colorado?
Yes.
What was the name of the high school?
Boulder High.
And approximately what was that?
Graduated
Right.
79.
Did you work at a job in Nevada?
What did I work? I worked at a print shop for a little bit.
Okay. Doing what in general?
Sales.
And after the print shop, where, if anywhere, did you work?
I was at 2015, that's when I went to Real Water.
Okay, well, if you came here in 2000, started at the print shop,
2001.
2001, and you went to Real Water in 2015, the print shop was the only job you had in that 14-year period? Okay. Okay, so before 2015, the only other job you had here in Nevada was in the print shop?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so the job in, Real Water job that was posted to Craigslist was for a specific position?
Yes, it was at the front desk, and from the front desk, I moved up within a month, I would say, to Director of Quality Control
Okay, but the job that was being advertised in 2015 was to be?
at the front desk.
Was what?
Receptionist.
Okay, so the ad in Craigslist was for a receptionist at Real Water?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And you felt like you had the training and background to do that job?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Have you ever been a receptionist before?
No, but definitely have a lot of people skills.
Okay, so prior to 2015, had you had any training with regards to how to make water, how to make food, anything of the sort?
No, they taught me. No,
Okay.
yes.
We'll get into what they taught you, but
Oh,
prior
okay.
to 2015, no training whatsoever
No.
in food processing,
No.
water processing,
No.
quality assurance,
No.
you know, nothing whatsoever?
Nothing.
Any chemistry classes?
No,
Any involvement with using testing equipment?
no,
Okay. So you went to Real Water, you became the receptionist in 2015, is that correct?
yes.
Do you remember the month? Approximately.
I want to say it was around May or June because it wasn't like extremely hot yet.
Okay. And would that have been a facility at, on Desert Inn?
Yes,
Now, when you got hired, you said you were hired to be the receptionist, and then a month later, you became the director of quality
control.
control. Okay. And I assume you've never been the director of quality control before.
No,
Who was the director of quality control at the time you were the receptionist?
there was nobody.
Okay, back to when you were hired as receptionist, was that an hourly position? You were paid hourly?
Yes.
Do you remember what the hourly rate was?
No, sorry.
And when you became the director of quality control, was that also an hourly position?
No, that was a salary. That was $800 a week.
Okay, and was that a raise over what you were making before?
Yes,
Okay, so let's back up. So you were making $800 a week when you first became the director of quality control?
I do believe so, yes.
Okay. During during what time period were you the director of quality control?
Well, I was there till, August of 17, I'm gonna say. So
So it would have been,
almost 2 years, right?
okay, so if you became the receptionist sometime
In 15,
in 2015.
Yeah.
And then you became the director of quality control in May or June of 2015.
yes.
So you were director of quality control for sometime between May and June of 2015 to August
August.
2017.
Correct.
Now, in the Desert Inn plan, during the time period that you were the director of quality assurance, was there a room where concentrate was administered into the real water?
Yes.
What was that room called?
You know, I don't remember the name of it, but I do remember where it was located.
Okay, and can you tell me approximately how big that room was?
Sure. If you take from this end of that pillar all the way across, and it'd be this big.
Okay, so approximately 20 by 10 maybe?
That's about right.
All right, now, and in this, was this 20 by 10 concentrate room, room where access was restricted?
Yes.
Okay, and who was the access restricted to?
I had to go in there because of the electrical cords that needed to be fixed, and that's why I was to go in there and to make sure that everything was picked up and clean. But when Blain went in there, nobody was allowed, he would lock it up, nobody's allowed in there.
Okay, and that would be Blain Jones,
Correct.
and he was the one that was mixing the concentrate?
Correct.
Okay. And I say concentrate, is that was the term that was used by the real water board?
Yes, it is, sir.
Okay. And what did this stuff look like? What color was it?
I never saw it.
Okay, so you never saw the concentrate before it was added into the water?
No.
Okay. And where, do you know what the ingredients in the concentrate were?
No, sir.
At any time did you know the ingredients of the concentrate?
No.
Okay, so you as the director of quality control were never provided with a list of the materials that were being used to make the concentrate?
No.
Do you know how they were making the concentrate?
No.
Okay. All you know is Blaine went into a room and concentrate came out.
Correct.
Okay.
There were big tanks that it would go into.
So basically they would make a tank full of concentrate, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and if I told you that these were titanium tubes used to make the concentrate, that'd be news to you?
Yeah.
So as far as you know, you've never actually seen these things?
No.
Okay. And you were the director of quality control.
Absolutely.
Did you know prior to today that they were using titanium tubes as part of the manufacturing process?
I did not know that.
Okay, so this is from today is the first day you discovered this, correct?
Yes, sir. I've never seen these. Sorry, my glasses are dirty.
Now, directing your attention to the top left quadrant of the exhibit, do you see that? You see how the tubes are arranged together and there's tubes coming out of the titanium tubes?
Yes.
Okay. And as you sit here, Dave, you know how they made the water alkaline or non-alkaline? You know what process they used to, you don't know?
No.
Okay. Did you know whether or not they applied a positive electric charge to these tubes, exhibit 25?
No, sir.
Okay. And I referenced them as titanium tubes. You didn't even know they were tubes, much less that they were supposedly titanium.
No.
Right? Okay. So basically, whatever was done in the concentrate room, you weren't privy to, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So with regards to your job as the director of quality control, you could not do any quality control in the concentrate room because you didn't know what was going on in there.
Exactly.
And you would agree with me that if there was a water processing plant and you were director of quality control, and there were things going on in some room that you had no access to, you couldn't ensure the total integrity of the system.
Correct. I do know now. Now that you say that, I know
Right.
it, but I didn't have that kind of background.
Okay. You didn't have the training to recognize that at the time.
Correct.
Okay. Are you familiar with something known as HACCP?
No, sir.
Okay. And so if I told you HACCP meant hazards analysis critical control point, that would be news to you?
Yes.
So you don't know how many steps, if any, there are in HACCP?
No, sir.
Okay. And since you don't even know the first step, right?
No.
All right.
Sorry.
And do you know the four types of food and safety hazards under an HACCP analysis?
No, sir.
Do you know how many critical control points there are under an HACCP analysis?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Now, if you take a look at Exhibit 18, that's the next in order there.
Okay.
This is an audit by a group called NSF International that claims to have visited the plant sometime in 2017. If you go to the very last page, you'll see your well, I should ask you, is that your signature on the very last page?
On the last page of this?
Mm-hmm.
No, sir. I don't sign like that.
Okay, it says audit contact and then there's a signature there, but that's not your signature?
No.
Okay, let me make sure we're looking at the same thing. It looks kind of like a PNC, but that's not you.
No, I could sign and show you my signature.
Well, we have others, okay.
Okay.
So you did not sign this document?
That doesn't look like my signature, sir.
Okay.
I don't recall signing it, but
Do you recall an entity, and they have the name of the person here, Cheryl Bischoff, it's on the first page,
under,
Bischoff. Do you recall them coming in and doing an inspection or audit of the plant sometime on March 2nd, 2017?
there was people that came in to see the plant,
Okay.
but I don't remember the names.
Okay. Maybe they were from Michigan, perhaps?
I don't remember. No.
Okay. Now, directing your attention down to 2 on Exhibit 18. So, for the record, we're on page 3 of Exhibit 18, Section 3, which is labeled HACCP. Are you with me?
Page 18.
Right. No, it's Exhibit 18,
Got it?
page 3.
Okay.
And then down in the middle, section number 2.
Got it.
Okay. Has the persons responsible for the HACCP program completed a formal HACCP training? Question. Answer, there is no current staff that has completed formal HACCP training.
Yeah.
And that's a true statement?
Yes.
Because you didn't have it?
No.
No one had it?
No.
Okay. In retrospect, that probably would have been a good thing to have.
I'm sure.
Would you say they were cheap?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, again, the last page. That is not your signature, you're telling me.
Does not look like my signature, sir, but you know what? I can, like I said, I never put a line across the top like that, across the P, that's why. It's like, I don't do that.
Any idea who signed this on your behalf?
I honestly, if you ask me, I think that somebody looked at my furniture, my signature and probably tried to do it. It's my guess.
Okay.
And that P doesn't even look like a P, that looks like a D to me.
In regards to this document, you have no memory of seeing this document that we have purchased to Exhibit 18.
No, sir.
On the top it says, do employees assigned to conduct the test demonstrate competence in performing them? Answer, there are currently no written SOPs or training documents for how to perform various testing. Only required test parameters with frequencies are noted. Okay. Did I read that right?
Yes.
Okay, is that a true statement that there were no written standard operating procedures or training documents for how to perform various testing?
Correct.
Okay. Any changes made after this finding? that you're aware of? Were you made aware of this finding?
No,
No, you were not made aware of it.
no. I've never seen this.
Okay. Well, I'm correct, you were not made aware of these findings. Is that right?
That's right.
Did you notice anything unusual about any of the water that you drank?
Well, you couldn't-
Chemicals in it?
You couldn't drink it as soon as it got off the line. It had to sit for a while because you would get sick.
Okay, and when it came off the line, you couldn't drink it because why?
Because there was people that would get upset stomach and have loose stools and would have to go to the bathroom, and they said it's because they drink the water right off the line. You're not supposed to drink it right off the line, you gotta let it sit for at least 24 hours.
Okay, and was there a procedure where you were supposed to let the water sit for 24 hours?
That's what they always said, do not drink it off the line.
Who's they?
Blaine told us that, Brent told us that, they all said don't drink it off. Frank even told me, don't ever drink it off the line.
So was your understanding there was something in it that needed to
Sit for a while.
mature,
Yeah.
sit,
Yeah.
process? Do you know what that is?
No.
Do you know what hydrazine is?
No, sir.
And do you know whether or not hydrazine causes liver damage if you ingest it?
I'm sure it does.
Mhm. Did you do any testing for the presence of hydrazine in the real water products?
No, sir.
Same question on concentrate. Did you do any testing on the concentrate?
No.
Okay. And we have in here testing by the FDA on real water concentrate, which let me show to you real quick. 28A.
Go to 28.
28A. There's actually two tests. There's 28A. There's 28 and there's 28A. So, you see these are results of FDA testing on real water concentrate samples. Okay, do you see on the first paragraph, when you're reading on, hydrazine was identified? You see that statement?
Yes.
And then directing your attention to the next page, which is A. Down in the middle, you'll see the concentration of hydrazine was determined to be 1.33. See where my finger is? Okay. Do you know whether or not 1.33 is a dangerous concentration of hydrogen?
No, sir.
Because you've never heard of hydrazine.
Right.
Okay, assuming for the sake of argument that the FDA did find hydrazine in the real water concentrate, do you have any idea where the hydrazine came from?
No, sir.
Okay. And if someone had informed you that there was hydrazine in the real water product, would you, as quality control director, have investigated that?
I would have asked about it.
Okay. And by the way, before I forget, you said that some people, the employees, drank real water off the line and they became sick.
Yes, like the guys that would work on the line, they drank it.
They became sick.
Yeah,
They didn't have liver damage that you're aware of.
not that I know of, sir.
Okay. And did real water?
Can I add something into there? What bothered me, and when I became the director of quality control, I told the guys not to ever do that, is that they would give the water to the homeless people, and I said, you can't do that, because then they would get sick.
So
So I put a stop to it,
so they're giving water
off the line to the homeless
and
people.
homeless people will become sick.
Well, I don't know, but I just know if they're not supposed to drink it out, and they got sick, when they get sick, where are they gonna get help?
What did water that you knew was 1 liter that was going to a warehouse, then to a store, did you treat that differently than the 5-gallon water?
No, well, I wasn't there when they did the 5 gallons.
Okay, was there any different target for the 1 gallon as opposed to the 1 liter when you were there?
No, sir.
And so it was all the same target.
Correct.
Did you recall what it was?
No, I don't.
Okay. But it was negative something.
Yes,
You think it wasn't consistent from what it had to be, right?
correct.
first of all, I assume all the customer alert forms were filed in one big place, right?
I would think so. I never saw them.
Okay, you're the director of quality assurance.
Right.
Who else would be responsible for that?
Well, they would have to go through their supervisor, which was, the salespeople would be with Amy. And then whether Amy would give them to me to take care of them, that was up to her. She was in charge of the salespeople.
So you didn't necessarily see every complaint?
Exactly, because they would go through the salespeople.
And you didn't review the complaints that were filed in the complaint book?
No.
We have a complaint dated August 15, 2013 about dirt particles in the water. See this? Right here?
You're on 20?
20A. So now we can start using the A's.
Okay.
Okay, right here where it says dirt particles.
Yeah. You know what, I recall hearing about that.
Okay, so you recall hearing about that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And do you have an explanation as how dirt particles got in the real water product?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. It was in when they make, because we make our own bottles and the bottle blower, I don't remember what it was called. But anyways, so if it wasn't completely clean, it would get in there when the bottle was being made. That's how that got in there.
That's how dirt particles got in there?
Correct.
That happened on more than one occasion?
Yes.
How many occasions? Dozens? Over the years?
It was quite a few.
All right, B, we have a complaint about, quote, this is dated October 21st, 2013, an oily red substance inside the bottle. You see that one?
You're on which page?
I'm on B,
Okay, sorry.
first full paragraph there, oily red substance.
Here. I am on B. I don't see
Okay,
that.
right here,
Oh, I see it. Sorry.
okay? So there were complaints you're aware of that they found oily substances in the bottles?
That was before my time.
Okay, but this was in the book that you could have reviewed if you wanted to.
I didn't see this.
I didn't ask you saw it, you could have seen it if you wanted to. Anybody could have. All right, well, let's, there's plenty, we don't have to get stuck along. Okay, C, April 2nd, 2013. Preform resin or oil from the manufacturing process. And there's complaints about that. Were you aware that there were complaints that there was some kind of oil in the bottles from the manufacturing process?
No, sir.
At any time.
No, sir.
All right. D, we have a May 6, 2014 complaint about, quote, a strong chemical smell in the bottle with a TDS reading of 26, unquote. Were you aware of this complaint?
No, sir.
So this is the first time you've heard that there was a strong chemical smell associated with the real water bottle?
Yes, sir.
All right. E, this is February 21st, 2014. Customer said she found a gasoline-like substance. Okay, did I read that right?
Mm-hmm.
You weren't aware of this complaint either?
No, sir.
Okay. Here we are on May 23rd, 2014. I'm on Exhibit F. We're talking about a slight candy soda-like scent and a cloudy substance in the water. You weren't aware of this complaint, I take it?
No, sir.
Okay. G, we have 8/15/14 complaint about styrofoam in the water with lemon juice. Aware of any complaint like that?
No, sir.
First time we've ever seen any of these complaints, we've gone through A through G, correct?
Correct.
Okay, H. This one is testing that appears to have been done. They don't have the complaint, but they have the test results, okay? And there's a note on the second page there that says, Patty,
Yes.
this is what I could find.
Yes.
TDS 65 and some other reference. I can't really understand what that means.
I did it with Frank.
Okay, and what is it what do you recall about this particular one?
I don't recall, but that is my signature.
Okay, so sometime in July or September 2016, there was a complaint about the water, and you tested it and found that it had a 278 orb. Is that right?
Yes,
And it was supposed to have a negative 200 orb?
correct.
So can you explain to me why it had a plus 278 orb when it was supposed to have a negative 200 orb?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. One, December 1st, 2016, this was the time period that you were the Director of Quality Control, right?
What are you on?
I,
Okay,
December 1st, 2016, you were Director of Quality Control?
yes,
Okay, is this a complaint you got?
Yes.
All right. And did you investigate this complaint?
I took it to Blain, we just had to, offer them free water.
Okay, so when you received written complaints about your water causing someone an illness such as diarrhea, the solution was to send them free water.
Correct,
Okay, the solution was not to investigate as to whether there's a potential problem with the water.
correct.
Okay? And in retrospect, do you think that was a good quality control procedure?
No, sir.
Do you have any? All right, M is February 6, 2016. Water smelled foul and tasted like chemicals. Okay? At the time that this complaint came in, you were the Director of Quality Control, right?
Yes,
What was done to investigate this complaint?
I didn't get this.
You did not get this.
No, I don't remember seeing this.
Okay. All right. Flipping to the next page, where I see a number of emails with your name on them about this complaint.
Okay,
Does that refresh your recollection that you did get this?
yeah,
And the solution was to offer Mr. Gelman more real water.
correct,
So rather than investigate the potential problem, you offered him more real water.
correct.
All
That's
right.
what I was told to do.
I'm not suggesting it wasn't. So Mr. Jones told you to do that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, and this is March 17, 2017, from someone named Susan Doran.
Okay,
She stops by in December after getting sick. She wrote you, didn't get a response. This is dated March 3rd, 2017. Did you see that?
mm-hmm,
Okay, and again, that's the time period you were the Director of Quality Control.
sure.
Okay, how was this one resolved?
This is the same one here. I left her a message. I called and left a message. Again, sent an email, and I talked to her.
Let me ask you differently. Was there any investigation done on the manufacturing process
No,
as a result of this complaint?
No, sir.
Was there any investigation done on the manufacturing process at any time as a result of any kind?
Absolutely not.
We have a thing dated March 6, 2017 under AO. Costco Business Center on MLK. Okay. Quote, water had a bitter aftertaste for the case she purchased. Okay. Can you recall this complaint?
Yeah, that's my handwriting, sir.
Where's your handwriting?
But there it says, we'll come in for 2 cases of water.
Okay. So again, the solution here was to give out more free water.
Correct.
No investigation done in the manufacturing process.
No, sir.
All right, on August 1st, 2017, well, fishy smell and taste burned her throat, okay? And were you still there at this time? I think you were, right? You were still there August 1st, 2017?
This is about the time I
Okay.
left.
Did you call this complaint?
No, sir.
Okay. The next one, September 6, 2017, intestinal, and again, we're on Q. Intestinal cramping, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. Do you recall whether you were still there at this point?
I don't think so.
Okay, and what makes you think that?
I don't see it. I would have made a note on it or replied to them.
Okay.
I always make sure I reply to people and try to get rid of them.
Okay, and then 9/15/17, another complaint. Start to feel sick, symptoms of confusion, hand tremors, nausea, and vomiting. And this is September 14th, 2017. You think this is after you were there?
Yeah,
And then B is an interesting one dated March 4th, 2014.
there was one here for February 4th.
Yeah, I said February 4th, 2014.
Okay.
It's someone called Nick Gosling. Is that a name you remember?
I think that's the person that was hired after me.
So he says here that his production division analyzed the substance and determined that it was most likely a production oil that was present in the bottle preform when real water received from the preform manufacturer. See that statement?
Yes.
He says, it seems to our production division that the substance was just production oil. And then if you continue on, we have actual pictures of the oily substance in the water. See not the greatest pictures in black and white, but on the back there. So here we have an acknowledgement by Real Water in February 2014 that there's production oil in their water. Okay. Where it came from, let's leave to decide for now. They're admitting they have production oil. Okay. And we have complaints three different complaints in May about oily substances in the water that we've already gone through. My question to you is, if you have a manufacturer who admits that there's oil in his water, and then you have 3 complaints within 3 months about chemicals in the water causing nausea and vomiting, do you as the production director think there should have been some sort of investigation done on that?
Because I never saw the oil once.
Because you feel like the employees really were not adequately trained as they did.
I just have a few follow-up questions from what Mr. Kemp asked you. There were a lot of questions about the processes and standard operating procedures. Now, to be clear, you were there from 2015 to 2017, is that right? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, sorry. At the Desert Inn facility? Yes, sir. Yeah. It's okay. I've been called worse. So you're only able to testify as to what happened in 2015, 2016, and 2017 at Desert Inn? Correct. Okay. So in terms of what testing was done or what procedures were, all you know is when you were there, 2015 to 2017? Yes. Okay. So were you familiar with any of the standard operating procedures that were in place at the time? Just what they told me, just what they showed me, and just what Blain trained me to do. Okay, then we'll talk about that. So what did they show you when you first got there? You said you only know what they showed you and what they... Okay. But in terms of the standard operating procedures, I'll show you just in your binder right there, if you turn to tab 12, for example. Got it? There's a procedure called incoming water testing and treatment. Do you see that? Yes. And this states that it was issued on October 29th, 2014. Do you see that? Yes. So was this a standard operating procedure that was in place when you arrived at Real Water in 2015? Yes, because obviously it started on the 14th, so. Now, you said that you had some training when you became the Director of Quality Control, is that right? Yes. Can you describe that training? Oh, it was basically, they say you gotta read this book and follow that, and then how to do the testing, where it needed to be at, how often to do it, and to just make sure that they were more concerned about getting more trucks out per week to have production than they were about the testing. You started your answer by saying one of the things you did for training was read, you said, the book. What
book are you talking about?
They would have they have these books that they had all of these sheets.
So you're pointing to a standard operating procedure.
Correct.
So they were all together in one book.
Oh, no, they had like about 3 or 4 different books.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a lot.
And those were provided to you.
Yes. And Blain would update those.
To your knowledge, while you were there, was the testing on the incoming water and the outgoing water actually done at the beginning and end of every shift?
I would do it at the beginning, in the morning, and then when the second shift manager would come in, then they would do it, and then before they would leave, they were supposed to do it.
If there were any deviations from what the water was supposed to react, whether it be pH, ORP, TDS, how were those addressed?
They would actually, at the end of their shift, take one of the bottles off the line, and they would write on the bottle itself where the levels were. That's how the shift managers would do it.
So there was a retained sample?
Yeah.
And that was every shift?
Yes.
Okay. And were those retained indefinitely?
I don't know how long they kept those in the warehouse.
Other than reading the book, what else did you do as part of your training?
I did a lot of what we needed to be as far as the cleaning room, how the products they use for cleaning, which is the ZAP products, how all the labels have to be on there, how a lot of the safety precautions so nobody would get hurt. That was a big thing.
That brings up something else. You recall looking through some of the customer complaints, and there were some that predated you that mentioned it seemed like there was dirt in the water.
Yes.
And you said that your impression was that came from the bottle, the blow molder itself.
Correct.
How did you come to that conclusion?
Because they always had problems with that machine, always. And they always had things. And there was times where one of the managers would pick up the bottle and say, look, there's stuff in here. So I said, just throw that out.
Okay, what kinds of problems?
Like, what do you mean, what kind of problems?
You said they always had problems with the machine.
Yeah, the bottle, it would either not make the bottle right, or it was destroying it, the cap part of it wasn't doing right, so they were just having problems with the mold.
Okay. Specific to the couple of complaints about dirt, do you know how they determined
That it got in there?
that the dirt that was being reported was from the machine? Do you know how they determined that?
I did.
Okay, how did you determine that? What did you do to come to that conclusion?
Just because where they would make the bottles, it was not a clean area. It was just dirty, and there was papers everywhere all the time. It just wasn't a clean area.
Okay, so that was the basis for concluding that if there's dirt, that's likely where it came from. It came from the machine?
I think so.
Okay. Did you do any type of testing or anything?
They had guys that would work on the machines. I had nothing to do with that.
Okay. What kind of documents were created during the production process? Were there logs, for example?
What I came up with, because of the problems we were having with the bottles, is that whoever was making the bottles, so I knew to detect the problem when we were having it, was in each bag, they all would go into a huge bag. I created to where you put a label and you date it and mark it that you were the operator that made those bottles.
Okay, so, sorry, back up. You say you put the bottles into a bag. You mean unfilled bottles?
Correct.
Okay, and so there was an individual who was operating the blow molder.
Correct.
Okay, and he or she, after molding the bottles, would put them in a bag?
Yes. There was a cart that was with a liner bag, and then once that was filled, they'd close it up, and I told them from there forward, label it so that we can detect where we're having the problem, who's making the bottles and not paying attention.
And when you say not paying attention, what do you think was happening?
The machine would be running and they'd go out in the back and smoke and do whatever they want. The machine would just be there and keeping an eye on it.
Okay. And what would happen as a result?
They would jam up and then you gotta watch those kind of machines because you don't know, one's gonna jam up and that plastic will go into another bottle and it just breaks them, then we lose production time.
When you said you got customer complaints occasionally, they would come across your desk.
Yeah.
I noticed they were from various places in the country, all over. I saw one from Florida, I saw one from Oregon. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so your understanding at the time was that real water was shipped all over the country?
Yes. I actually think that they were actually, Amazon was actually, is how they were getting it, was through Amazon.
So was that being shipped directly to
Because
people?
we had some cases that would go to them.
I understand, okay. Were there any, in terms of the production staff, the people actually making the bottles and making the water, were there any written training materials that you know of?
No. I would have to explain it to them because a lot of them didn't speak English.
So one of your jobs was essentially explaining the production process to
Well,
some of the people.
I speak fluent Spanish, so I explained it to them.
And did you learn about these steps in the production process from reading the operating procedures you talked about, or from somebody explaining them to
From
you?
Frank and from Blain and mostly from them.
Okay, so at this juncture, is Congress excused for all purposes?
Yes, Your Honor.
Councilwoman Water?
Yes, Your Honor, we agree.
Okay, and what the jury questions since it was a videotape excerpt. Okay, so would this be a good time to take our afternoon break or council? Okay, so what we can do is 3:10, ask you to come back at 3:30. So ladies and gentlemen, during this recess, you're admonished not to talk, converse among yourselves with anyone else on any subject connected to the trial. You must not read, watch, listen to, and report or commentary on the trial or any person or entity connected with this trial by any medium of information, including without limitation, social media, text, tweets, newspapers, television, internet, radio. Anything I've not stated specifically is also included. Do not visit the scene of the events mentioned during the trial, or do not undertake any research, experimentation, or investigation. Do not do any posting or communications on any social networking sites. Do not do any independent research, including not limited to internet searches, and do not form or express any opinion on any subject exactly the trial to the case fully and finally submitted to the time of jury deliberations. With that, have a nice break. Thank you. Okay, this juncture, counsel for plaintiff, would you like to call your next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Plaintiffs will call Susan Doran, who will be played via video.
Ladies and gentlemen, jury similar to the last witness, this is going to be an excerpted video, okay? May I proceed? Go ahead, please.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Ms. Doran, it's pronounced Doran, D-O-R-A-N?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where did you reside in 2016?
In Henderson, Nevada,
And how long had you lived in Henderson at that time?
at which point in 2016?
How long had you lived in Nevada in 2016?
At which point in 2016? I moved there in February 2016.
Okay, so you moved to Nevada in February 2016?
I did.
And where'd you come from?
California.
After coming to Nevada, did you have occasion to drink a product known as real water?
Yes.
And if you take a look at Exhibit 4, please, which are pictures of real water bottles in a display, does that appear to be the product you drank?
Yes.
What attracted you to real water, if anything?
I heard about it. It was word of mouth. And I learned about it at a workshop for local entrepreneurs and people working on podcasts and stuff. So it was a lot of like-minded people who were looking to strengthen the identity of Las Vegas as a local community and with local businesses and neat things going on locally in Southern Nevada and Las Vegas. And being an environmentalist and being health conscious and supportive of creating robust communities within Clark County, the idea of real water appealed to me greatly. And having been a new person in Nevada, I had discovered how essential it was to stay hydrated, which is like nowhere I've ever lived before. So the combination of there being this new product from a green, interesting, young, health-minded company was extremely appealing to me. So I was all in.
And approximately when was that?
I don't remember exactly.
It would have been sometime after you came to Las Vegas in February 2016?
Yeah, it would have been probably in November or December of 2016.
And so you purchased some real water?
I did.
And where did you buy that?
I don't recall.
Was it the retail bottles such as we see in the pictures here on Exhibit 4? That you purchased?
I'm looking for Exhibit 4. Here it is. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And by retail bottles, I'm trying to distinguish between 5-gallon jugs that was used for home delivery. Did you ever get home delivered?
I did not.
Okay, so it was all retail bottles, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how much of it were you drinking, if you remember?
I'm really sorry. I don't know. Again, it was a really long time ago. Yeah.
Did real water become your exclusive water product?
No. It was, for a time I was buying more real water than any other water. And then when I started to have unpleasant experiences with it, I stopped. And then I started again. I kept wanting to give it a try. So it was not exclusive, but it was a favorite go-to, we can say, for a time.
And did there come a time that you got sick after drinking real water?
Yes.
And approximately when was that?
It was, let's see, November, December 2016, and I let Real Water know about it at that time, and there was, I think, some low-level discomfort early in the year, and then in March of 2017, when my family was visiting, I wanted to share this special product with them, and I got sick. That's more than you asked, but there you have it.
Yeah, why don't we start with your, did you write Real Water an email on or about March 3rd, 2017?
I did.
Okay, can we have the email up, please? The second page. you read that, Mrs. Doran?
Ms. Doran.
Ms. Doran, okay, sorry.
Are you asking me to read it or asking me, am I physically able to see it?
Are you physically able to see it?
I can see it.
Is this the email you wrote to Real Water on or about March 3rd, 2017?
Yes.
Now, in the email, you title it, quote, "All families sick from your water, including 87-year-old parents," unquote. Did I read that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
Did your parents live with you at this time?
No, they were visiting.
Where did they live at?
They live in New Hampshire.
Okay. So they were just visiting for a couple weeks, a couple days, what?
I think it was 8 or 9 days.
Okay. Did you get diarrhea?
Yes.
How about your parents?
Yeah.
Did anyone vomit?
No.
In the email you say, quote, "It creates a burning, sour stomach," unquote. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes, I see that.
Okay. What do you mean by that? What did you mean by that?
It felt, and I am just going to ask you a question. I also did send an email similar to this, mentioning these symptoms in November of 2016, but I presume you're going to come back to that. So I'll stick with what you've asked me here.
Okay.
It was like a raw burning sensation. It was very unpleasant. Just like from like this sternum all the way down through the various organs, presumably, I don't know, but the feeling is, through the stomach, all the way down to the intestines, just very unpleasant and sick, just felt sick on top of the pain and discomfort of the water.
Okay, and you sent a first email to Real Water, you said in November 2016?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that was before your parents got sick.
Yes.
So March was at least the second time you'd gotten sick from Real Water?
Oh, yeah, at least, yeah. Yeah, there were.
On any of these occasions, did you vomit or anything?
Never vomit.
Okay. Now, the first email, did someone contact you at Real Water after you sent the first email?
Sorry, I'm trying to get to my screen. Let's see. I had called I'm sorry?
I was just asking because the second email says, quote, "and never heard from you," unquote.
I had called and also emailed. And I'm trying to find the first email. Just a moment. As far as, what it says in the emails is what is so. This is a very long time ago. And I know that this is very important, and I'm attempting to help you as I tried to attempt to help Real Water, but this is a very long time ago.
Okay, so in the first email, you complained about diarrhea. Is that correct?
Let's see, yes.
Okay. Anything else you complained about?
I complained about the bottles. They were flimsy, and they would sort of collapse into themselves. Sometimes when you try to open them, and it was very hard to open them.
Okay.
So I let them know about both of those things.
On the March 3rd, 2017 email, you say that you're going to be contacting the health department. See that portion of the email? I will be contacting whether health departments in the Las Vegas area or state of Nevada. You see that?
Yeah,
Did you do that?
I don't recall. I would imagine, I don't think so. I didn't look myself to see whether I had a record of that. If I did, it probably would have been through some intake form or a phone call, but I don't think I did. I think I was pretty busy, and I don't think I did.
Okay. And on page 2, is this of exhibit 2, is this a continuation of the email or is this a second email? The first email appears to be 3:12 a.m. Did you see that in the top right there?
Mm-hmm.
And then on the next page, I have an email that said 12:31 a.m. Did you see the 12:31?
Yes, I'm reading it. I haven't seen that in a long time. Okay.
Okay, so you sent Real Water 2 emails in the March time period. Is that correct?
Presumably, yeah.
And this is a true correct copy of the second email, the March 17, 2017, 12:31 a.m. email?
Yes.
Okay, can you read that into the record, what that says?
Can I read it into the record?
Yeah, would
You
you
mean,
read
can I
the
read-
email? Yeah, would you read the email into the record for us? Would you read what the email says so we have it on the record?
Well, you have it on the record, it's right there.
Well, true.
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay. Did you say in the email, quote, "Shame on you people, I am contacting in and all agencies that regulate your product," unquote? Did I read that right?
Yep,
And you also said, quote, "The fact that twice, 3 months apart, I've given you feedback about your water literally making people ill, and you have not called, let alone emailed, is beyond belief. Shame on you," unquote. Did I read that right?
yes,
Right. And so when you were talking about making people ill, you were talking about yourself and your 2 parents, correct?
mm-hmm,
Yes?
yes. And I'm trying to remember whether I had talked to anybody else about it. They said, they didn't like it either. I don't remember. But yeah, certainly myself and my family.
Okay. And did Real Water, going to the next page of Exhibit 2, did they send you an email back on or about March 21st, 2017, from Patty Converse?
Yes,
Did you receive that email from Real Water?
can you make that a little bigger?
Yeah.
Thanks. Yep, yes, I received that.
Okay. Did you ever speak to Patty Converse on the phone?
I think I did. There was, I know I left messages, I think I may, Susan. I may have spoken with her, but I don't recall.
Okay. And on the bottom of this, there appears to be yet another email that you sent in response to this one, which is dated March 21st, 2017 at 7:57. Do you see that email?
This is from me to
Right.
Patty Converse, yes,
And did you send that email back to Patty Converse?
yes.
And this email says, quote, "The fact it has happened twice, months apart, and quite profoundly each time with all family members, something seems not to be right," unquote. Did I read that right?
Yeah.
All right, clear. After this time period, referred to March 2017, did you have occasion to have your liver enzymes checked?
No.
Did you have any liver tests that showed elevated readings?
I reached out to the physician's office that I had seen at that time to see whether there were any medical records that would, provide any data on that, and I did not hear back from them. And I'm a busy person, as we all are, and I didn't continually contact them to ask them that question. So there was one instance when I had, is it Bun something? I don't remember, but.
About ALT, AST, anything like that, ring about?
No, it was some kind of,
Creatinine reading?
pardon me?
A creatinine reading?
It was, blood urea nitrogen.
And that was not normal?
It was, if I recall correctly, it was slightly elevated.
And in one of the emails, they had promised to give you 2 more cases of water. Did they do that?
I didn't want any more water. I wanted them to fix the problem. Because at that time, again, like if I were the age I am now, I probably would have been more concerned about myself than them. But at the time, I was concerned about myself, but I mostly was concerned that if they wanted to get a good product off the ground, that was ostensibly aimed at, creating this very healthy product, local product, that they were failing and that they needed to know and that they needed to fix it. And the fact that my dad had gotten sick was pretty upsetting to me and to my parents and to my extended family who knew that this had happened. So I didn't want any more water. I never bought their water again. Never bought it again after this.
Okay. And so again, the symptoms you had were 1, diarrhea, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
2, the stomach rawness or as you described it, right?
Yes.
And then in the email, you also talk about cramping. What does that mean?
It was just the whole experience. It just like low down, like I'm not a physician, so I don't know what exact organs are, where they are, but like a tight pain, that makes you sort of bend over with pain, and it was literally painful.
Okay. And then Exhibit 3, what is Exhibit 3?
That is my parents and me when they were still healthy and we were still feeling well.
This is
When they were visiting.
Before you drank the real water?
I think we started drinking it, but it wasn't, we weren't, very sick at that point. Just when, people in their 80s come to the desert for the first time, they might, initially feel a little off. And for me too, I, wasn't focusing on, feeling perfect. But these were like the early days of the visit when it wasn't really serious, which it later became.
Really? Okay, but anyway, you quit drinking real water after this last episode in March 2017. Is that correct?
Right, yes.
Back when you alleged you were sick due to drinking real water, did you seek any medical treatment?
No.
Did a medical doctor ever tell you your symptoms were related to the consumption of real water?
No.
Oh.
You indicated that you couldn't recall where you bought the retail bottles of real water, is that correct?
Correct.
At the time that you were purchasing the retail bottles of real water, were you shopping at any time at Whole Foods?
At any time during that period from November 2016 to March 2017, yes, from time to time.
Okay, when you first got sick in November or December of 2016, do you recall what you were eating the day that you first became sick?
I do not.
Do you recall what you ate the day before you got sick?
Unfortunately, I do not retain memory of what I ate in specific meals on specific days 6 years ago. Sorry.
Understood. I'm just trying to see what your memory serves. Do you recall eating at any restaurants the day you got sick or the day before you got sick?
I don't recall.
And in March of 2017, when you attributed your illness to real water, do you recall what you ate the day you first experienced symptoms?
I do not recall.
Do you recall eating at any restaurants with your parents before you got ill?
I'm sorry, I don't recall.
Did anyone in your family, such as your parents, visit a doctor due to their symptoms?
No.
Did you ever make any inquiries at Whole Foods regarding real water?
I'm thinking. I may have asked them if they carried it or if they were going to be carrying it. It was the Green Valley Whole Foods that I went to, by the way. But I don't recall ever having bought real water from Whole Foods.
So you say you indicated you may have asked them, so is it fair to say that you're not certain whether you inquired at Whole Foods about real water?
Before I say yes or no, I want to give some context. I was really enthusiastic about real water, and so at different stores I would ask about it, have you guys heard about this water? I'm really excited about it. Is that something that you have? This is something you're gonna have, or you can restock, whatever. But no, I don't specifically recall asking somebody at Whole Foods about real water.
And am I correct in saying you don't recall actually purchasing real water at Whole Foods?
Correct, I don't.
You talked about 2 times you were sick, one in fall of 2016 and one in March of 2017, is that correct?
Yeah, I would say that it was fall, winter 2016, and then spring of 2017.
This is Mr. Kemp. What did you mean by you got sick twice in November and December 2016? Or it was...
No, I'm saying that the incidents occurred in November and in December 2016.
And so you got sick 3 times?
At least.
Okay. From drinking real water, you got sick 3 times?
Yes.
In November of 2016, did you inform Real Water that you were sick from drinking real water?
Just a minute.
May I ask what you're looking at?
I am looking at my emails. Yes, well, let's see. I let them know about the problem with the bottles in November. And then I followed up and I let them know that the water was making me sick. Okay.
During that email, did you inform Real Water that you had been sick from drinking real water?
Yes, this is what it said. It is giving me a burning, sour feeling in my gut, and as said, diarrhea. I think you need to look into what the problem is. I will stop buying your water in the meantime. My guess is this: you're using water from the Vegas Valley, and it's hard water, which my whole life has given me diarrhea. Otherwise, something you're treating the water with or doing to it is making me sick, or the bottling is unsanitary. I just want to say I have nothing to gain from any of this. I want this to be on the record. I'm not benefiting in any way. This is taking time out of my work day, to try to help with this, but I don't have any agenda. I wanted this company to do well. I was trying to give them a heads up as a healthy person who was suddenly getting these symptoms, that they might want to be a little bit more careful about what they were doing. So I don't, this is a long time ago in the course of my life, and I'm just doing what I was supposed to do, but I don't have an agenda.
That's the end, Your Honor.
That's the end? Okay. Those are your questions. So is the witness excused for all purposes based on the video deposition excerpt played?
Excused for all purposes, Your Honor.
Real Water agrees, Joel.
Okay, thank you very much. Then that being the case, counsel claims, would you like to call your next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Plaintiffs will call Blain Jones, also via video.
Okay. And so, Ms. Juncture, same thing we've done with the last 2. The video may start to be played. Video deposition. Go ahead, please.
Please swear that the testimony that will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes. So, Mr. Jones, did you drink real water? Did. Okay, could you take a look at Exhibit 26, please, and tell me if you recognize that document?
I don't recognize the document specifically, but I recognize what it's, thank you, describing.
Okay. This appears to be a narrative that was put on a GoFundMe page, okay? Did you put the narrative on a GoFundMe page?
I did.
Okay, And does this appear to be the narrative that you put on the GoFundMe page?
Appears to be. I can't recall specifically what I said, and if this is 100% accurate, but
Okay, approximately when did you put the narrative on the GoFundMe page?
looks like it was 25th of October, 2020. Has that date on the document there? Sounds about right.
Where are you looking? Back page?
It says 501.
Okay. You're looking at Spanish on the bottom?
Yes.
Where it says Fecha de Creation?
Correct.
You speak Spanish, right?
Not fluent, but yes.
You know Fecha means date? Right.
Yep.
So you're assuming that the date of creation of this is October 25th?
Yes.
Is that consistent with your memory that you did create this on October 25th?
Sounds about right.
Okay, back to the first page. Could you read the first full paragraph that starts with "My name is Blain Jones"?
My name is Blain Jones. The pain, confusion, and fear I have learned about acute liver failure and hepatitis over the last few weeks invokes the old phrase, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
Okay, and this says the last few weeks, and we've had the date of October 25th on the page. Does this refresh your recollection as to when you had this liver injury?
It was October of that year, yeah?
October 2020, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now there's some reference made in here to a hunting trip?
Correct.
And where were you going hunting?
Utah.
And can you get a little more specific?
Just outside of Carbon.
And what were you hunting for?
Elk.
You got tags?
I did.
And you were accompanied by someone?
I went up there alone, but I knew someone that lived in the area and I met up with him.
One of your friends, I assume?
An acquaintance, I had met him.
What was his name?
I don't specifically recall his name, to be honest with you right now. I had only met him one time prior to that, and I haven't spoken to him since.
Okay, but he had a tag too?
He did not know. He knew the area and he offered to show me around.
He was more of a guide person?
No, he wasn't a guide.
Oh.
Acquaintance.
Okay. All right, so does this... Anyway, you drove to Utah from Nevada?
Yes.
Do you remember if you left on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
I think I left on like a Thursday, something like that, maybe a Wednesday.
Okay, if you want to take a look at the second page, I think maybe if you give a little context to it. 1, 2, 3, 4 down. Could you read that paragraph?
Which paragraph again, sir?
Where it says after the morning hike, and then we'll try to put this into some kind of context.
After the morning hike, I thought I had full-blown food poisoning.
Now, was this the first full day in Utah?
So that day, I had arrived the day prior.
Okay.
And set up camp and, different things.
Was that the day you went to KFC?
No, it was the, yes, I believe so.
So on the day you arrived, you went to KFC, right?
I believe so, yes.
And you say, quote, later that afternoon, I began to feel sick, unquote.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so you actually started feeling sick the day that you got there?
Yes, I believe so.
Did you bring real water with you?
I did.
How much, if you know?
I believe I brought a 5-gallon bottle.
Okay. So you were drinking it during the course of being up there?
Correct.
Did you bring anything else other than real water to drink?
I might have had some other Gatorade or some other type of drink, probably.
Okay. Okay, so basically you started getting sick that afternoon, right?
Correct.
And you say, quote, nausea came over me that night, unquote. Do you
you remember that?
Yes.
And in the morning, you had what you thought was, quote, food poisoning, unquote, right?
That's what it initially felt like, yes.
Okay. And having had food poisoning, you're throwing up a lot, and you feel nauseous and
Yes.
weak, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then it says that afternoon I went to sleep, and this was Saturday, right?
That's what it says there, yeah, sounds all right.
So this was the Saturday after the Friday that you got there.
Correct. Believe so.
It says Sunday you slept all day, only to wake up at midnight feeling decimated after having thrown up and dehydrated.
Yeah, that's what it says.
You need to take that and...
No, it's fine.
Okay, and is that in fact what happened?
Yeah, that's what I can remember.
Okay. Had you ever felt this way before?
I can recall having, food poisoning where I felt similar to that. However, Sunday, I kind of progressively got worse. So it felt at that point in time like a very bad case of food poisoning. Very severe case, I guess you could say, of food poisoning.
Okay, so it says you slept all day. Was that on site at the hunting area?
Yeah, I was in a tent.
You set up a tent?
Correct.
And was that just for you, or was the other guy sleeping up there too?
No, I had my tent by myself, and he had his own tent.
Okay. So it says, quote, I decided I needed to go to the hospital for attention, right?
Yep.
And did you go to the hospital for attention?
I did.
And what hospital would that be?
The local hospital there in around Carbon. I don't remember the name specifically off the top of my head.
Carbon spelled C-A-R-B-O-N?
Yes.
Okay, whatever the local hospital was in Carbon you went to?
Correct.
Okay, so you went into the ER, they gave you some tests, and then fluids, and then they let you out, right?
Yep.
How long do you think you were in an ER at that point in time?
Maybe an hour or two.
Okay. So you drive back to camp and you say, Monday you slept all day. Is that right?
That's what it says, yeah. Sounds right.
So you actually slept all day Sunday and all day Monday?
Besides the trip to the hospital, yeah.
Okay.
For the most part, I think.
It says you had no energy, I had no energy to get up, barely enough to choke down some water. Did I read that right?
That's what it says, yeah.
And so the water would be the real water?
Most likely, yes.
Okay. So during the time period you were sick, you were still drinking the real water?
Correct.
Okay. Going on. I dumped myself into my truck and he drove down the mountain to the pharmacy. Would that be your friend?
Yeah.
Okay, and so what day would this have been?
I don't recall specifically if it was Monday or Tuesday.
Okay, if you take a look back up the paragraph, after it says Monday you slept all day, it says, quote, the next morning I felt the necessity to get up.
Okay, yeah, so then I guess it would have been Tuesday.
Okay, so on Tuesday he drove you down the mountain to the pharmacy, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you filled the prescription, you went to your friend's house to rest, right?
Correct.
And you say, quote, what I would soon realize was I had a few levels to fall down before I hit the bottom of this nightmare.
Yep.
Right? And the nightmare would be the illness you're suffering, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So the next paragraph says you got off the couch. Is that the couch at his house?
I believe so.
And again, we think this is Tuesday, right?
Sounds about right.
Okay. So you describe going to the bathroom and you think you went multiple times and he says you went once, right?
Yes.
So you were delusional at this time?
Yes.
Okay. So you went outside and it sounds like you're kind of stumbling down the street. Is that what's going on?
I was out in front of his house.
Okay. So
that I knew, and she was the only one that answered the phone at the time.
Okay, so this would have been Tuesday night? Or
Afternoon.
Tuesday afternoon, okay.
Maybe midday, I'm not sure.
And this house is in Carvin, right?
Yep.
All right. So the ambulance arrived and they put you in the back of the ambulance and they take you to the hospital, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And skipping over a paragraph, it says, quote, next time I remember being reeled down the hall into a room with a doctor. Over the next few hours, I was getting IV fluids. Next, the doctor told me my liver was shutting down and the next few days would be very painful. Did I read that right?
Looks like it.
So this would have been on Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay. So Tuesday, a doctor told you that your liver was shutting down, correct?
I believe that was what the doctor said, yes, if I remember correctly. Again, I was pretty out of it, but as far as I can remember, yes.
Okay. And do you know what ALT and AST liver tests are?
I'm familiar, somewhat, very elementary understanding of it.
Okay, do you know if they ran those on you at this time?
I don't recall or not, no.
Was there some other member of the family communicating with the hospital about your condition, other than, well, was there other than you?
I believe they got a hold of somebody. I don't know specifically who they were speaking to.
Okay, in the next sentence, it says they notified your father, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that would be Blain Jones, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so he actually talked to you and said, I'm going to come get you?
I don't remember if I talked to him or if the doctor relayed the message. I just remember somehow knowing that he was coming to pick me up.
Okay. Well, it says, quote, he gave me two options. One, stay in the hospital, or two, go to the hotel. Right?
Yeah, I was referring to the doctor.
Oh, the doctor gave you two options. Okay. So you went to the hotel?
Yes.
And the reason you went to the hotel is because you were worried about the medical bills since you had no insurance?
Yep.
Would you have otherwise stayed in the hospital?
The way the doctor put it and giving me that option, he was basically saying it was, up to me what to do. At that point in time, like I said, I didn't have health insurance, so I made the decision to go to the hotel.
Okay, and you walked from the hospital to the hotel?
Yeah, it was just down the street, maybe 100 yards or so, 200 yards.
Okay, and you say, quote, I left the hospital on the hardest, less than a block walk I've ever experienced, unquote. Did I read that right?
Yep.
Okay, and you were stumbling and you fell on the ground over 15 times?
Sounds about right.
So 15 times in 100 yards?
Yep.
Okay, you weren't in good shape, I take it?
I was not.
Okay. So flip over to the next page. Had you already checked into that hotel, or did you have to check in the hotel?
I honestly don't remember or recall how I got the key or the reservation for the room.
You were out of it.
Very much so.
Okay. But you say here you flopped in the hotel bed, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then your wife convinces the hotel people to feed you and give you some Advil, right?
Yeah, they left some food and Advil, out in front of my room.
Okay. And then your dad comes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
And then in the next paragraph, it says, quote, the doctor warned me you were going to feel horrible for a few days, unquote. Was that before you left the hospital?
When he gave me that warning?
Yeah.
No, it was when I was at the hospital, yes.
So you went back to the hospital after your father came in?
No.
Okay.
No, at that point in time.
So while you were at the hospital, he told you this?
Yes.
Okay. And now it says this was Wednesday now, right? We're on Wednesday?
Yes, that's what it says. Looks like
Okay.
it.
And so your dad drives you back to Vegas, I assume, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, Okay, so they set you up, kind of a little room here at your house, I take it, right?
Yeah.
And then you got a case of the hiccups?
Yeah, I remember it started on the drive home, and
it says you're forcing fluids down. Is that during the drive?
Where?
During the next 2.5 days, my time was filled with hiccups, forcing fluids down, and every time I trip to the bathroom, the fluids come back up.
Yeah, so that was when I was at the house, and like I said, in the room that I got set up in the bedroom.
In the fluids, you were still drinking the real water?
Probably that's would have been the the water we had at the house. I don't remember. I can't. It's hard to convey the difficulty of being aware of what's going on.
Okay.
At that point in time.
That you started getting worse at home. That's what it says.
Yeah, over the next couple of days, I mean, as the doctor told me at the hospital that the next few days were going to be very hard, and I definitely did continue to get worse.
Okay, you got worse than you were when you were in the hospital and when you were stumbling the 15 times, walking 100 yards to the hotel?
Yeah.
You were worse than that even?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I was throwing up blood and not able to hold anything down.
And the thrown up blood, that's the reference to the red-brown mix of fluid exiting my mouth?
Yep.
Okay. And it says your grandmother, had come from 5 hours away to aid in my care.
Yeah, she came to help.
Where did she live at?
She lives in California.
Okay. Just after midnight on Friday, her voice uttered what I needed, hospital.
Yep.
So she told you to go back to the hospital?
Yes.
And so Friday, we're a week after, this is the Friday after you went to Utah on the Friday.
Correct.
So this was 8 days in a row you've been sick?
Friday to Friday would be 7 days.
Oh. Okay.
8 days.
All right.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. And then to the car, you go your third trip to the hospital.
Yep.
So that's 2 trips to the Utah hospital, third trip to a hospital here in Vegas, I assume, right?
Correct.
Okay. And what hospital is that?
I don't recall the name of it off the top of my head. It's the one here up in, it's north of the 215 over off of Buffalo, somewhere in that area over there.
North of 215 by Buffalo. Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember. Spring Mountain maybe is the name of it. I can't remember specifically.
Have you been to the hospital before?
To that hospital?
Yeah.
No, I haven't been to that hospital.
Okay. So anyway, they checked you into the hospital, right?
Yep.
And you say, I was diagnosed as critical and rushed into the ICU. That would be the intensive care unit?
Yep.
So they checked you into intensive care.
Yep.
And we're in the middle of COVID right now, aren't we? October 2020?
Maybe it was ramping down, but I mean, it depends on what your definition of the middle of COVID is, I guess.
They had COVID restrictions at the hospital still?
Yeah, I mean, they still have COVID restrictions at hospitals right now.
Okay. So this weekend, I stayed under constant supervision, blood tests every 4 hours, and something continuously being injected into one of my 2 IV connections. Did I read that right?
Looks like it, yes.
So that weekend would be the Saturday and Sunday after you checked into the Vegas hospital, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, next sentence says, quote, the doctors don't know why I got sick, unquote.
Yep.
Did the doctors tell you they didn't know why you got sick?
They did.
And I assume they asked you if you did alcohol, right?
Yeah, they had a number of different questions.
Okay, and do you use alcohol?
Occasionally.
Okay, okay. So they ruled out alcohol, right? Or you ruled out alcohol?
I mean, I from my understanding of, cirrhosis and liver failure, not drinking enough in my life to get to that point.
Okay.
I'm not an alcoholic. expert, obviously, but
You're an occasional drinker,
yeah,
like 1 or 2 drinks a week, maybe?
at the most.
Okay, and it says, what they did know was if I had gotten worse, the only option was a liver transplant, unquote. Did I read that right?
Yes.
And did they discuss a liver transplant with you?
Yeah, a specialist came in and he said that there was a short amount of time where he was debating whether or not to send me to California for a liver transplant.
Did he tell you what hospital in California they were considering?
No, I don't recall
Okay,
specifically.
remember if it was perhaps Loma Linda, USC, UCLA?
I don't remember.
Okay, what was the specialist name, do you remember?
I don't.
And you said he came in, he was not at the hospital, he came from another hospital?
The way he made it sound is he kind of circulated around hospitals because his specialty was something in regards to liver or something,
Okay. And it says, quote, my tests for liver failure were teetering at this point of no return, unquote. Did I read that right?
Yep.
And those would be ALT, AST tests?
They weren't reviewing tests with me at that point in time specifically. I just recall the conversation with that doctor. He basically, and this was shortly after I began to, not get worse.
Now it says, my tests for liver failure were teetering at this point of no return. Do you remember if they were talking about your ALT or AST being in the thousands? Does that ring any bells?
I don't recall specifically what tests. I mean, other than generically referring to tests at that point in time. I mean, I'm still in the ICU and very, don't have all my faculties, I guess would be the way to put it.
Okay, and the next paragraph says, by Monday, I was relocated to the general level of the hospital, stable enough to be transferred. Did I read that right?
Yep.
So that means on Monday, you're moved from ICU to general section hospital?
Correct.
So you've been in the hospital, you checked in Friday night, right?
Yeah.
So you've been there Saturday, Sunday, and on Monday, they moved you out of ICU.
I believe that sounds all right.
Okay, and would I be correct that they did not let you bring real water into the hospital?
I don't recall bringing anything other than myself in the hospital.
Okay, so the only liquid you drank in the hospital was hospital water.
I wasn't able to drink any liquid at the hospital for a good amount of time.
You didn't drink any liquids?
When I was in the ICU, I wasn't able to really drink or eat much of anything. And then I think just before they transferred me out, I had some liquid food. I was able to keep that down, and then when I was in the general sort of recovery area, was when I was actually able to, drink some water and get some food from the cafeteria, or they would deliver food to your room.
Good. And when you drank the water, that was hospital water, not real water.
It was the water they provided, yes.
Okay. All right, and it says, I skipped something, it says that you were having blood tests every 4 hours during the weekend. See that in the top there?
Yeah, there was a nurse that would come in when I was in the ICU every 4 hours to take a sample and run tests.
And you know if those were the liver tests that we're talking about?
I don't know what they were testing.
Okay, the next paragraph says, Tuesday morning, you want to be discharged. So you went home Tuesday morning?
Late morning, midday, somewhere around there, yeah.
Okay. It took me a week and a half of hell to achieve my regime of rest at home. Unquote. Did I read that right?
Regimen.
Regimen, okay. So Tuesday morning you went home, right?
Yep.
And how long did you stay at home before you were able to go back to work?
I want to say it was about a week and a half.
Okay. So since we've got about a week and a half to Tuesday morning, you were pretty much put out of commission for 3 weeks. Is that about right?
Yeah, and then, I mean, I was still extremely weak and out of it even at that point in time, after that point in time.
Okay, and it says, the next sentence it says that debilitation of liver failure, I have been to hell and back. Did I read that right?
Yeah, it was a very terrible experience.
Okay. You wouldn't go through this again if I gave you $10 million, would you?
That concluded.
Includes video, Your Honor.
Okay, so is Mr. Jones excused for all purposes or subject to recall? Counselor Blain?
Your Honor, Joel Odou for water, he'll be recalled in our case.
Okay, so let's check. Okay, so then he's excused for plaintiff's case in chief, is that correct?
Subject to me moving in Exhibit 19.
Okay. Post 19? Did counsel do you want to move this?
No objection to Exhibit 19, Your Honor.
Okay, no objection, Exhibit 19 is now admitted. So,
Excuse for all purposes for us.
okay, so excuse for all purposes, but subject to recall in Real Water's case in chief, correct? Counsel for Real Water?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. At this juncture, Counsel for Plaintiff, would this be a good time to end for the day?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so we're going to start tomorrow at 9 a.m. We do anticipate that we will not be going the full day to close to 5. How early that is, we intend to set up 3 witnesses for tomorrow, 3 or 4, so realistically we'll be addressing some other issues, discussing various things with counsel. So ladies and gentlemen, while you have a nice relaxing evening, during this overnight recess, you are admonished not to talk or converse among yourselves with anyone else on any subject connected with the trial. You must not read, watch, or listen to any report of or commentary on the trial or any person or entity connected with this trial by any medium of information, including without limitation, social media, text, tweets, newspapers, television, internet, radio. Anything I have not stated specifically is also included. Do not visit the scene or the events mentioned during the trial. Do not undertake any research, experimentation, or investigation. Do not do any posting or communications on any social networking sites or anywhere else. Do not do any independent research, including but not limited to internet searches. Do not form or express any opinion on any subject connected with the case till it's fully and finally submitted to the time of jury deliberations. Do not hopefully have a nice relaxing evening. Thank you so much.
All rise for the jury, please.
So from what I understand, you've got 2 of your clients and you may, you got Tom Water, you can have one of your experts.
One witness, a nurse, and I think if time allows, we have a deposition queued up to be played. We're going to talk off the record because we removed the ETT cuts from my push. I don't think anybody's going to care, but it's a housekeeping to do. I do have a question for the board on housekeeping.
Sure, I just want to check. And then you all are going to touch base on Alcina, right?
Yes, sir. We are working on that tonight. And then the other question I had is, the leader comment on the call, we provided the court with proposed jury instructions, but we can certainly review them. The number of issues is diminished with departure ETT.
The answer is yes, I do have them, but it probably might be more efficient and helpful, right, versus saying, because you might want to just take them out and have them in a smaller packet in order, right, versus saying disregard this, disregard this, disregard this. So you can do that more efficiently. And what I thought you all might want to do is, at the end of the day, tomorrow after you get through the witnesses, if we many the jury instructions as we can, if you want to, so that we can get that to you efficiently if you're trying to get to closings on Monday afternoon to jury for deliberations Monday night. Is that where you're heading?
We might be able to get to Monday morning with the closing.
Pardon?
We might be able to start closing Monday morning.
So that, but to go to a jury sometime Monday. Is there
Yes.
anticipation, is that correct? Okay.
That's the goal.
Okay, so administratively, a couple things on our particular to-do list is I think there's some, did you get your videos? Okay. Always, remember the redacted version of 61 and 65 needs to get to the clerk.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just giving you a couple reminders to put on your to-do list, right? And then tomorrow what we'll go over is we're gonna go over all of the admitted exhibits that we have thus far, so that you all can confirm that you have all the admitted exhibits and we get those electronically on what needs to be the Golden Drive, right? And who's gonna be responsible for ensuring that there is a clean laptop for the jury at the time of deliberations? Remember, they have to have something to plug in instead.
I can provide that, Your Honor.
Okay, so you're gonna take care of it.
Does the court want just one?
Is there any reason to have more than one?
We had two before, just that.
Okay, short answer, if you want to, I've never had that question asked realistically. You're saying in case you have an issue with one, is that what you want to back up?
One seems fine to us, but Yeah, we agree, 100%.
Are you close enough that if there's a huge issue with it, that someone can bring another one?
Yes, you could contact one of the trial presenters and get another clean water. Something went wrong.
That might be more efficient, but if you want to provide the court with two, we won't say no, but usually, so far, it's not an issue. You know, the only issue is just making sure it's clean and clear, but usually if you have one of your trial presented tech people, provide one, they know that. It has nothing proprietary, as long as it has.
No internet access.
In this case, you are, they're gonna have some multiple drives, is what we're gonna have, because,
There should be 2 drives, yeah.
yeah, because of some of the edited things you need, so we just need to, we're gonna have that second drive checked when they bring, anyway, I'll ask my clerk to double check on that before Monday for you.
Well, Your Honor, that brings up a question. In terms of the redacted exhibits that we're substituting for the exhibits that were on the electronic,
If they're paper copies, then they can be, excuse me, if they are a email or some type of written communication, such as the redacted email deleting the dogs and deleting the email of the father, okay, Ms. Dorans. Those, if you want, can easily be put on paper, and then it can be provided as a substitute exhibit. If it was like the video that you showed Mr. Hunwardsen, right, that you might have done something different, then that would need to be in an appropriate format. Does that
Understood.
answer?
yeah, so in terms of providing copies of the redacted exhibits, we should provide hard copies to the clerk?
I think, well, let's put it this way, that might be easier for you and we're okay with it. If you want to do it electronically, go get them checked by the vault clerk, we're not gonna stop you.
Okay, I think we'll make copies and bring copies.
Yeah, because once again, we're kind of on the small number of pages. We're not talking anything at this juncture that's more than 20 pages. Right?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. So you everybody just needs any outstanding questions you need to address? Okay.
The only other exhibits that we did that with were the interrogatory answers, and we provided hard copies of those. Is there anything else we need to do?
We're talking about the grouping of documents that, this didn't come.
We didn't actually admit them.
Oh, we never did.
No, they were coming out on today.
Okay, so I got to tell you, remember before we close, I need to remind you that it's a wonderful conversational tone that only one of us can talk to that. That's one of the reasons why tomorrow we're going to go over what exhibits we show admitted, and then we can confirm if there's any other details that need to be taken care of with regards to those exhibits. That probably makes more sense to do it tomorrow because you all might want to be doing other things right now.
Sounds great, John. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.